What's up guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Aaron, welcome to my channel. You join me today with 2007 Civic Type R. I thought I'd give you guys my first impressions, what I think about the car personally. So first of all, bright red in colour with the gold wheels. It's obviously been modified. It's got a Tegiwa exhaust system on it. It's got these Japan Racing 17-inch wheels, and yes, the Type R is supposed to come on 18-inch wheels. This one's running 8008s in the front on a 215/45/17. Other than that, it's got the Apex lowering springs on it with the standard shock absorbers. But other than that, really is pretty standard. So I thought I'd tell you guys what I think of it. First of all, I want to talk about the way that this car looks. Now, when it came out in 2006, 2007, everybody slated this car for being far too futuristic. Personally, I think that just means it's aged well. You see them about nowadays, and you can see it next to a 2016, 2017 shaped car, and they don't actually look that old. So some people class that as a curse and a blessing, but I stand on the blessing side of it. I think it's aged fine, and I don't think it's a bad looking car either. The one thing that I will say is that people have always slated these cars for not being as good as the EP3. Having driven both, I like to think that this is a completely different kettle of fish aside from the engine. They've both got K28 engines in them. They both make about the same horsepower, give or take one. But yeah, I think this is an understated of the Type Rs. Like, it's not the one that you think of when you go to buy a Type R. I think this is the one that you need to daily drive if you're going to have a Type R. If you want something for the track, 100% go for an EP3. But in my opinion, if you're going to drive it every day, there's nothing wrong with this choice, and they're getting cheaper and cheaper. I don't see why you wouldn't. And I've driven both, and I can't see why you day-to-day need an EP3 over this. The creature comforts inside, which I'll take you inside in a minute, and I'll show you the differences inside. Okay. As soon as you step inside the car, you realise how much more modern this is over an EP3. You've got your speedo up at the top here, and you've got your clocks in the centre down here as well, with the rev gauge going all the way around the outside. I personally prefer how this looks inside than an EP3. It's definitely just a nicer place to be. You've got your push to start, but unfortunately this isn't a normal push to start because you still have to put the key inside the ignition. Now, why Honda did that, I don't know. It's not a keyless entry car, but you still have to push to start. No idea why they bothered doing that. The other thing I like about the inside of this car, though, is these seats. Step out the way so that you can have a look. You look at these seats, they are completely the most comfortable seats you can get in any of the Type Rs, in my opinion. They do seem to wear on the bolsters down here, so that's something to look out for. I'm actually pushing the metal bar inside the bolster there. They do wear out. It's quite a buckety seat for a standard car. But day to day, these seats are perfectly comfortable to live with. They are very supportive, and I don't see why you'd need any more in a hot hatch like this. They're still cushioned, they're very comfortable and very supportive. Now, if you look down in the center here, you've got your Type R badge to let you know you're in something special. And then you'll have your number designation down there for what Type R it is. And then you've got your infotainment system up at the top, so that tells you what radio station you're on, and your heater controls are up there, and you've also got dual zone climate control in this car. So you have your two heaters up there that tells you what your driver's side is on, which you control by this knob here, and then your passenger side is actually controlled by a temperature up on this passenger side door here. Now, it is dual zone climate control, so if you set one side to one side of the car high and the other side low, the vents will switch and change on each side of the car to make sure that you're both happy. one of the annoying things about the interior of this car, as amazing as these front seats are, they're perfectly comfortable in every single way, is that, and I'm sure another auto review had said the same thing, that if you want to let somebody into the back of your Type R, which being a hot hatchback you will, there's plenty of space in the back and it's perfect, and all the seats will fold up and down and you can set them flat and stuff like that. It's brilliant. But as soon as you've moved this seat forwards and you put it back, it will set in the most bolt upright position you can believe. I mean, how does it assume that you've shrunk an inch or a foot every time you get in it? It won't go wherever you want it to go. It's just ridiculous. I don't know why they don't go back. Say I've set it all the way back here. When you put something in the back, why does it then go bolt upright? I've never understood that, and it's very frustrating if you're getting your friends in the car and you have to move your driver's seat, because that does exactly the same thing. It's very, very frustrating. So for boot space, you've got plenty of boot space. You can, once again, personally I think these are bigger than the EP3. There's loads more space in them. You can fold your rear seats flat, or you can fold them up, as I said before. Perfect flat loading space, not really much of a lip to get stuff over, but then you will see that quite a lot of them do have chips in the boot entry where people are lifting things they can't lift over to the top. It's quite a common thing for that to happen. And also you've got fake boot floor in there. Ignore all the stuff I've got in the bottom, but there's a good yay amount underneath there. You've got plenty of space in there for all your stuff that you want to leave in there and forget about forever. Now the first thing that you realise when you get in this car, not only are you surrounded by your cockpit, I think it's a really nice place to be, but the way that this car feels to drive is beyond more than fun, to be honest with you. I don't see why people don't praise the way that this car drives more. The steering response is, some people would say twitchy, I would say it's more responsive than it needs to be, because if I go up to say 30 mile an hour, as you can see, I'm barely moving the steering wheel, and we are moving quite a lot. The turning response in this car is ridiculously good. I think that's a lot to do with the steering rack of this car, but then of course the 8008s on the front will help. That will help all outright grip. The other thing that I want to note on this car as well is the gear shift. The weighted gear knob down here is a pleasure to use, actually. You can throw it between gears and it just goes in every time. You can get as aggressive or as fancy as you like about it, and it's quite an easy car to drive. So the other thing you'll notice while you're driving this car, and I know that this car's on 17-inch wheels, but the gear ratios are very, very short. Now, I can go from 0 to 40 and use all 6 gears and feel like I've barely accelerated at all. You feel like you're changing gear quite a lot. Now, when you're driving around and having a good laugh of it and you're in VTEC and stuff like that, that's great fun. This car's a pleasure to change gear in. But while you're driving to work, it can get very annoying. When you're in stop-start traffic, you can go, for example, like now, pulling away from lights, that was nearly 3,000 revs, nearly 3,000 revs again, nearly 3,000 revs again. I'm only doing 30 mile an hour, and that does get very annoying. Now, I don't think it might be so bad when you've got the 18-inch wheels, but definitely on 17s. I mean, in 5th gear, we're doing nearly 3,000 revs, and we're not even at 50 mile an hour. It's ridiculous. The other thing that I'd like you to take note of when you're thinking about buying a Type R as well, and I know this one's lowered, but I have driven one before, is how hard the ride is. The stiffness of the ride in this car is, quite frankly, intolerable. Now, it's a great laugh to drive while you're, say, on a track or down a B road or something like that. It handles amazing, but the one thing that I think is not forgivable for this car, having driven an EP3 in comparison, for the weight of this car, the stiffness of the suspension is just ridiculous. Like, we're barely going over any bumps now, and we are moving around. You can physically see me moving around in the seat, and these are huggy seats to be in. So when you're in a huggy seat, you're on your way to work, changing gear 50 times every 30 seconds, and you go over the smallest bump and then you end up swallowing your nutsack. Now, it does get frustrating. I've been daily driving one of these for quite a while, and it's probably the most frustrating thing of the car. Now, if you can look past the harsh ride and you're going to be driving like a douchebag more times than you are going to be driving normally, then this is the car for you. Now, it's definitely not going to live up to the hype of an EP3 or anything like that around the track, but you're definitely going to be having more fun. And I think that that's what this car is all about. So there you have it, guys. The 2007 FN2 Civic Type R. Now, everybody's always forever slating these cars for not being as good as the EP3, but with the way that the markets are at the moment and the way that the prices are panning out, you can get these for about the same money now. And anybody that says that they're not as good as an EP3 has obviously never driven one. If you haven't, then I highly recommend you do. If you're looking for the daily driver that gets hoon on and you want it to scream at you and have a proper laugh, but you can live with it every day with plenty of space, modern interior, I don't see why you wouldn't. There you have it, guys. That's my first impressions on the 2007 Civic Type R. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe down below and leave a comment on any feedback you've got for me. I'm new to all of this sort of stuff, so any feedback is good feedback. My name's Aaron, Send It Smith. Thank you very much for watching.